Good afternoon and welcome to the brand stage. I hope you had a great lunch and I'm welcoming everybody back for this awesome presentation we're going to have from Pattern. Just a few housekeeping things I need to mention. So I need to thank eBay for sponsoring the event. The stage is sponsored by Econ Motors. They are an end-to-end solution providing aftermarket parts and accessory suppliers, brands and manufacturers and marketplaces. My name's Andrew Rowson. I'm going to be hosting the event and I am the CEO of Emotive and head of solutions on Econ Motors. So in keeping with the brand stream, we are privileged to have Nicola Hollow from Pattern. This is all about brand protection and other crucial reasons to consider Amazon within your channel mix. I'd encourage you to ask questions. If you could do that throughout the presentation. What we'll do, we'll come to the questions towards the end. So please ask them as you think of them, pop them in the chat box in the Totem platform, and we'll get to them towards the end. So that leads me to introduce Nicola, and over to you, Nicola.
Thank you. Okay, well, hi, I'm Nicola Hollow. I'm the General Manager of Europe for Pattern. We would describe ourselves as an e-commerce accelerator. We're a global business, and I'll go into exactly what we do shortly. But the reason we do a lot of work helping brands accelerate their business globally through marketplaces, through direct consumer, and through various channels using e-commerce. And today we're going to go through, why are we talking about brand control, and what have we learned from the people that we work with. We're going to go through some of the research that we've done that really demonstrates why Amazon in particular and why it's important for many brands, and also why brands choose Amazon. A lot of brands think about not using Amazon, but increasingly more and more brands are thinking, well, what is the role that it plays? How does it work alongside our direct consumer channel? Or should I work with them at all? I'm also going to talk through some of the strategies for protecting your brand and something called selective distribution, which is a legal method almost of protecting your brand in the marketplace by almost controlling the amount of people who are selling your product on marketplaces. So firstly, who we are. We are divided into a couple of different departments. We're an authorized 3P reseller. So the business that grew up in the States, we were founded in Utah. Started as a husband and wife couple, effectively buying things and selling them on Amazon. And that's built into a multi-million business. So we represent some of the major brands in Europe, in America, in China, Australia, all around the world. And we help effectively manage the full end-to-end marketplace business. Secondary, we've got a strategy department. So we're founded based on a team of consultants in the UK. So a lot of the people, including me, background in e-commerce, spent 20 odd years working as an e-com director in retailers and brands. So we've hired a lot of people who've been there, who've felt the pain, they know how to build a business, and they've really got the battle scars really to work out what to avoid. And so that combined with our marketplace knowledge is now helping more and more of the brands navigate the journey about how to protect their brand online. Lots of experience working with some major brands, and this partly comes from our consulting heritage because we've worked with so many brands globally. We've got some brands that I'm sure you will recognize. And increasingly, I suppose 2-3 years ago, a lot of these brands would never have dreamt about working with Amazon, almost felt it was a bit down market, not for them. But more and more brands are seeing or realizing that they can't avoid it. And you have to be there, otherwise somebody else will be there instead. And they could be representing your brand in a way that is not preferable. This is a bit of a bold statement, but a fairly US-centric statement. We're the best at what we do. Now, it's not a very British thing to show off in that respect, but what we do know is that there are lots of agencies out there who are doing some element of marketplace marketing. It could be content provision, it could be a bit of logistics. The one thing that we do really well is that we do everything. And the brands that we work with, we take the Amazon problem off their hand. We take the Tmall problem off their hand. We're able to take brands from the UK to China, from the Middle East to America. Whilst you might be able to build a small team yourself to run a marketplace channel, when you're thinking about direct consumer, Amazon, Tmall, Zalando, eBay, it's fairly impossible to be able to recruit that many people within your business. So we've done it for a fair few years now. We're a top 5 global Amazon seller. We ship a fair amount of units across multiple warehouses around the world. And I would say that we're pretty good at what we do. This just shows you some of the offices we've got around the world. I'm based in London at the moment in Bond Street. It's nice to see people back in the office again. We've got offices in Munich, warehouses in the Netherlands and in the UK, as well as across all our other global regions. So now I'm going to go into some of the research that we've done recently. We do a fair amount of market research because it helps back up some of the recommendations that we're often putting forward to our clients. And we like to use data to really back that up. This statement, I suppose, is no surprise that Amazon spend will continue to grow. Over lockdown, more and more customers, people have been shopping on Amazon. It's been easy. We've been stuck at home. We've had no shops open. And so we're able to, it's easier to get onto your mobile phone and buy more. UK-wise, I think the penetration of Amazon has been higher traditionally here, even though we're a smaller market than Germany. But these graphs, you can start to see the grey box is that people are already thinking about how they're going to start spending more in the next year because they've got used to shopping online. So even if the shops are open now, they are likely to spend more. And you can see that more in Germany, where they've been slightly behind the curve from the UK. More and more people are now transitioning to Amazon. This is a bit of a crazy chart with all the bar charts, but what you can start to see is that the boxes in yellow are the categories where people are considering buying. So traditionally, Amazon was about books and basics, but now more and more of these categories are being shopped using Amazon. So if you're a brand who you might have thought that traditionally no one buys my product from Amazon, I think it's worth reconsidering that now, because you can see in Germany, you've got some categories here, like hair care and skincare that are really starting to ramp up. That's even more evident in the UK. These yellow boxes are a lot wider, as I think the UK customer has got even more used to buying premium products. So you've got more luxury brands who are going online. And over lockdown, so many brands who we might have spoken to a year, 2 years ago, who wouldn't have ever considered working with marketplaces, are now saying our shops are shut, we've got no channels to distribute, department stores are closing down. How can I start to sell more of my product? Or how can I protect my brand when you've got rogue sellers who are up there on Amazon pretending they're me or pretending they're my brand and really misrepresenting who we are? So it's certainly something to consider, whether it's sales or brand protection, that you should be on these marketplaces. Traditionally, price seemed to be the main reason people would shop on Amazon. People used to go into the shops, compare pricing, is it cheaper on Amazon? But increasingly, it's become less about price, more about convenience. These bar charts are asking people, why do you shop? Okay, yes, it is cheap. They're looking for delivery speed. They're looking, it's easy because I can shop from my app. They've got Prime subscription, for example. So it's becoming less about price, which is interesting for premium brands who have often, I suppose, got the perception that Amazon is about discounting, which it isn't. It's about offering the best customer proposition. So you as a brand and how you think about why you should work with a marketplace, there could be a number of reasons. And lots of people still come to us saying, well, we want incremental sales. It's a new channel to market. That's why we want to work on marketplaces. There's the brand awareness element. If you're using marketing on the Amazon channel or marketplaces, you can start to appeal to new audiences. You can still category share from competitors, and you can really acquire new customers that might not come to your retail stores or to your direct consumer channel. But the bit in the middle is the piece where we're seeing more and more traction or interest is brand protection. So the brands who are really thinking, I'm looking at my brand on Amazon, it's not me, the content's poor, the copy doesn't represent who we are, the tone of voice is off. How do I protect my brand from these rogue sellers who are selling my product? The customer doesn't care or know that it's not the brand. And so from a brand point of view, it's really important to them to be on Amazon so that they can start to control that content and the proposition that they're putting forward to the customer. A big question that comes up a lot is about cannibalization. So if you go onto Amazon, is it just going to take your sales from direct to consumer? And incrementality is a debate we often have. We've seen and worked with a lot of people who clearly can see incremental sales on both channels. Sometimes you're targeting a different audience, depends on your product. This customer here is one of ours who were looking at tailoring their range almost, so they could really define from a D2C point of view, we want to portray our full range. You know, it's a great channel to really express who we are as a brand, why we're here, a bit more information around service and the product proposition. Whereas with Amazon, they thought this is a real gateway to the brand. You know, we could start to maybe only have a limited range on the lower priced items. You know, the people who are potentially more price focused or are looking for convenience, they won't need to see the full range, but we can hook them in and we can sell them a cheaper product. And then once we get them in, we can remarket to them using direct to consumer. So that worked for them. Other brands, you know, they have different strategies. Often our strategy team will start to sit and think and help the brand. Don't just rush and go onto Amazon. Think about how are you going to start and, you know, how are you going to range and what your strategy should be. This spiral is something that people often come to us because they're experiencing the pain of Amazon. Now, we call it the profitability spiral, and it's not Amazon's fault. A lot of people blame Amazon for being a discounter, but ultimately they're just trying to offer the best price in the market, the best customer proposition. Now, if you start right at the top, particularly over lockdown, you've got less retail channels, more and more people are trying to sell their product. You get more sellers who are flocking onto Amazon, you know, shifting their product because they've got no other channels open. And the more sellers that you've got on Amazon, then effectively the more competition. And so then people start discounting by a penny to win the buy box. If you haven't got the best price on Amazon, you're unlikely to win the buy box. I mean, there are a range of other reasons that how they rank and ensure that you win the buy box, but price is still the main way to do it. Then you've also got this thing called suppression, which many people don't realize is that Amazon are not just comparing your pricing with who else is selling on Amazon, they're comparing it with other retailers and other marketplaces. So if you're johnlewis.com or if you're Argos, you know, they would scrape that information and they will see if it's cheaper elsewhere. And if it's cheaper elsewhere, Amazon will suppress that buy box, and you can't, well, it's difficult for the customer to then click and add that product to their basket. So from a customer experience point of view, if I can't add to the basket, I might go to a competitor. So that's a massive issue. I won't think to go offline or to johnlewis.com. I'm looking on Amazon. And if I can't buy brand A, then I might easily go to brand B. So anyway, brands get into this cycle of trying to match the lowest price so they can win the buy box. And then suddenly they're making less and less margin, whether that's selling through Amazon 1P, whether it's themselves, whether it's all these distributors that they're shipping their product to and selling, all of them will be making less margin. And then all of them ultimately will end up coming to the brand and saying, please, I need a better margin next time I buy stock from you. Now, I think that's pretty evident in this chart. You can see here, this is a product that we tracked, and we have a number of tools within the business that we've built internally where you can track exactly what the product has been selling for. So for this product, it was selling at $40 for quite a long time. And you can see a few little dips where people were on promotion, you know, the odd discount. But then look at this massive drop, and all of a sudden the main price is, you know, just over $20, and it's going down and down and down. And, you know, clearly that's not sustainable for a brand. You know, up here you were getting some good margin, and now where's that margin gone? And if Amazon's buying your product, they will be coming back to you and asking for a better discount because they can't afford it. And this concept of crapped out products, where we get lots of companies coming to us and we just can't make it work because we can't make a profit on Amazon. And so then they come to us and say, well, will you buy our product? Because that's our model. We buy stock and we're a shared risk provider. We really believe in what we can do in growing a brand. But if there's no margin in it, nobody can make it work. The only way to really make it work is to start to lift the pricing back up again to 4 RRP. So this price erosion is what needs to be cleaned up, and it's all a consequence of having a really messy seller landscape. So the more people out there selling your product and discounting your product, it's only going to be a downward spiral. And so what we do when we bring on brands is that we agree a price, we buy the product, but we maintain a full price model. So we don't discount. Now that can be a bit painful at the beginning as we try and clean up the landscape, and we work with brands to look, and I'll go into that shortly about how you do that. But we buy the inventory, we maintain at RRP. We might not win the buy box at all times at the beginning, but we start to slowly see the price go up. And you see that blue line is ultimately, if you can sell at a higher price, you can make more margin. We're happy, we make more margin, the brand makes more margin, and then everyone in the supply chain makes more margin because nobody has to bid that penny lower to get, to win the buy box. If you don't go that route, you're unfortunately going down this route where you're on constant decline and then blaming Amazon for effectively ruining your whole business, not just your online business. So we have lots of companies who complain about the 1P relationship. And it's normally because Amazon, they're coming to them asking for more margin. Often Amazon focus, it's very automated. They use algorithms to work out what they should be selling. And this brand that we work with is a premium wine accessory brand. And as a brand, they wanted their whole range on Amazon. But because Amazon could only make margin on a few of the products, they were almost saying, well, we only want to take 3 of the products, the rest of it, we don't want to worry about. But from a customer proposition point of view, the brand wanted their whole range up, but Amazon didn't want it. And so they were becoming dependent on this channel where they couldn't showcase their whole range. They couldn't really make the margin they wanted to. And then pricing was it kept going down, and they couldn't control that pricing. You can't in Europe, you can't dictate pricing. But they were a premium product, so they didn't want to reduce the RRP at all. So they moved to us on a 3P basis, and we were able to maintain their RRP, sales are going up, we can carry their whole range. But in parallel, they've worked with their partners to ensure that ultimately they've got more control over the distribution. And so we're effectively their exclusive reseller, and we've taken them across Europe on a 3P model. And so we work as if we're them. So we represent them on Amazon as if we're that brand. We run all their marketing, content, fulfillment, everything. We buy the stock, and the partnership works really well. And so that's an example of where 1P doesn't work, but 3P does. And this concept of brand control is the bit that brands, we can't do it all on our own. We're really good at Amazon, we're really good at marketplaces, and we can do everything from a content, marketing, logistics, etc. But the brand has to play a part in this relationship, and that's this landscape. So it's really important that brands start to get their heads around where is the product going. In the past, it's been a case of let's sell out the product. Who cares where it goes? It can go to the corner shop. It can, you don't really notice the implication of where that product goes. But now these people could be selling it on Amazon, whether they're liquidators, they could be hobby sellers, people shipping it in from other markets. And all of that will affect how your brand is represented on Amazon because the pricing will be under pressure. So the more you as a brand can understand and control who your product goes to, the more control you will be of your Amazon and marketplace presence. And the reason this is a bad thing is not just about pricing, as I touched on before, is that brands they come across really badly to their customers. The customer thinks it's them selling on Amazon. They might get terrible customer service. That's if they get past a really bad product description, which isn't written very well, or if the imagery is bad. Some brands we've worked with, we've got one client where the customers were coming into their retail stores and saying, I've had a terrible experience on Amazon. I ordered your product. There was no packaging. The customer service is terrible. I demand a refund. And then the people in the shop, well, that's not us. But for the customer, it came across as their brand, but there was nothing they could do. So, keeping that control is super important if you care about how your brand is portrayed. And here is a few more examples where you've got, poor reviews. If you are not on top of your customer reviews on Amazon, one, they can shut down your account very quickly because it's really important for them to ensure that you are providing good service. But from a customer experience point of view, you don't want to be getting 1-star reviews with terrible comments about, it could be just about delivery, or it could be about the way the product's packaged. So again, something we offer is that we've got a customer services team that are on top of this constantly. We have SLAs where we have to get back to these customers within the day to ensure that the customer is satisfied and the brand experience is good. So a number of strategies that brands we work with have to prevent the problems you might get on marketplaces. I can talk you through some of these examples. The very basic one at the bottom is one that we see many brands get wrong. And you might understand the concept of brand registry. So when you first start selling on Amazon as a seller, as a brand, Amazon give you what they call as brand registry access or rights. So you might have different levels of rights access, but that effectively means you have the rights to change the content. So you can change the title, the bullet points, or the images. And because you've got so many sellers out there, let's say you've got 10 people selling one ASIN, any of those sellers can change that content unless you've got brand registry rights. Now, often brands will give the access to brand registry or the setup of Amazon to maybe a junior in the office who might set it all up. They leave the company and then, they decide that Amazon's actually doing really well and they want to move to 3P and no one can find access to brand registry because it's stuck on someone's email address that they left a year ago. So please, if you are looking to be a 3P seller or you are looking to manage your Amazon presence, make sure you get that bit right and make sure you give brand registry to someone important within your organization. And I suppose a lot of people don't really understand the work that goes into making sure the content is right. It's not like direct to consumer where you change a title and description and then it's there forever. You have to constantly battle to ensure that other people are not hijacking your content, changing it. So if you have full access and full brand registry rights, it's much easier for you to control that content. The next level up is selective distribution. And this is a legal term. And a lot of people think, well, they may have asked legal counsel within their business, can we implement a selective distribution program? The lawyers would often say, oh no, it can't be done unless you're a luxury brand. Now, it can absolutely be done. And what it is effectively setting a set of rules where you can define who you would like to sell your product online. Now, that could be a range of criteria, which includes they must have super good fulfillment. They must have a great marketing team, ability to present content in a really premium way. So there are lots of ways that you can define these programs, but it's very much a work that needs to be done with a law firm. And we work alongside many brands who deal with a law firm who can help them define this. And if you have that program set up, then if people are selling your product on Amazon or other marketplaces and they're not part of your club or don't adhere to your criteria, then you can ask them to leave the club or you can ask them to stop selling that product. So it gives you a bit more control over how you sell that product. Next level up, we've got exclusive products or bundles. If some brands are thinking, well, okay, if I can't really control my distribution because I'm widely distributed, then perhaps I think about particular types of products or ranges that I can sell on Amazon and not sell elsewhere. So we work with some brands who they've come up with specific products or bundles or complete ranges which are specific to Amazon. And in that way, if you've got unique ASINs that aren't sold on other websites, then you're less likely to get suppressed or lose the buy box. This I touched on about hijack listings. One brand that we brought online, and we've learned this through experience, is that we didn't have brand registry access right from the beginning. And because of that, we did all this work on content, and this is a few years ago now, but other sellers were able to hijack that content, and we were listed at the top, brilliant content, and somebody just changed it. And then all of a sudden you've got a bad customer experience. So now it's one of the first things we do when we onboard brands is to ensure that we have that control. This was an example of quite a large apparel brand that we brought online earlier this year. They developed a whole range that was exclusive to us, so we could sell that product on Amazon. Slightly different colorways, slightly different styles, and that way it's exclusive to Amazon. The demand is still there for the brand. We're able to sell it, and then we won't get undercut by anyone else, and we have more control about what gets sold on that marketplace. Skull Candy, one of our clients we've worked with for a long time. They're a headphone company. They sell through other major retailers like Currys and Argos, etc. So it's quite hard to avoid this, the suppression or buy box change, because you've got discounting happening in the market. So our preferred model is that we don't discount at all. And in that scenario, if Currys go on offer, then we would lose the buy box, because Amazon can see that the product is discounted elsewhere. So we came up with a solution working with Skull Candy to develop a unique product in a slightly different colorway. So the product is very similar to what you'd get elsewhere, but what we've done with them is change the color, and it's a unique case. And again, then we're getting all of the demand on the Amazon SKU, and it doesn't get suppressed. So there are lots of ways like that you can really be a bit clever and start to work to think about ways to get around buy box and suppression challenges. Another client we work with, Wittard, hot chocolate, very popular. I know they're known for tea, but their coffee and chocolate is very popular. Bundles allow you to create an ASIN that can't be directly price matched. So we just bundled 2 of the products, and that way we're able to ensure that we get a decent ranking and from the sales history of the product, but also it doesn't get suppressed, and so we can keep selling that product. And it also helps to higher your average selling price, and you've got your fulfillment cost, and it maximizes your margin that way too. This slide, it just showcases the amount of capabilities that you need to run marketplaces. Now, we come across lots of brands who say, yeah, we run Amazon ourselves, we've got one person doing it, it's working quite well. But then you've got to think, well, how well are you doing it? This is a setup that we have internally. And when we bring on a brand, we appoint a brand manager, which is effectively an account manager. And they look after all of these different functions that we run. So we would have content management, all the hijacking of listings, making sure that we're managing all that content the way the brand would like it. We have creative teams, we have video, we have 360-degree video studios. There's lots of work that goes into getting that imagery looking perfect for brands. We have SEO teams where we're looking at content optimization to ensure we're capturing the demand in categories. So if you're in the beauty category, you might be ranking really well for your own brand, but thinking about how do you capture the category share from your competitors. So teams working on that. Advertising teams are looking at how all the Amazon advertising that needs to be done, whether it's product sponsored ads or whether it's DSP. There are loads of skills and tech that's needed to really run that well. Off-platform advertising, how do you drive people onto the platform to actually really generate awareness? Lots of people think just by going on Amazon that people will come to you, but you have to really fight to ensure that you're discoverable. So there's a lot of skills that go into thinking about, well, how do I build awareness for the brand, particularly if it's new to market? And we take a lot of brands from one market to another. It's not just demand generation. So it's not just, performance marketing ads. You're thinking about how do I really build and grow the brand. Compliance is a big area. Amazon have lots of rules and they're very good at telling you off if you break them. So we have a big team who are on top of all the rule changes that Amazon make, and that could be from product formulation, it could be the rules about listing, it could be about logistics. There are so many things that you have to keep on top of. It's a minefield. Chargebacks alone, if you're running it yourself, if you're running logistics yourself, the amount of product that you have to ship in to the amount of warehouses, that on its own is enough work to do. So many people come to us just for the relief of the logistics challenges, I suppose. Customer services, mystery shopping. Often, if other sellers pop up and they're selling your product, it's about understanding, well, how did they get that product? Where in the distribution chain did they get that product, and tracking down so you can get to the root cause of who has managed to start selling that product on Amazon when you don't really want them to. And we look at reporting, as you would any trading function in e-commerce business. You're looking at, have we got enough traffic? Have we converted enough? Is there anything else we can do to help grow this product and brand? As well as forecasting and merchandising and working out how to build and grow the range. So plenty of things to be done. So if you are considering 3P, just think about not just how you're going to resource it. This market is pretty crazy as well at the moment. So people with any Amazon experience are getting snapped up quite quickly. So just think about how you're going to run it. This is a bit of a busy slide, and I won't go into detail, but lots of people are not quite sure how to work with Amazon. Should they go 1P? Should they go hybrid? Should they go 3P? We find that some brands suit 1P and should stay there. So if you're mass produced, if you're a grocery brand, let's say you're selling fizzy drinks, they're heavy, they're low priced, grocery is probably right for you. If you're small, if you're a high value item, the logistics cost won't be so high because you're light, then 3P is potentially something to look into. Many of the bigger brands have a bit of both. So they might have some heavy, cheap products that they don't want to move to 3P. They might have some premium products that they want more brand control on. So often our strategy team would work with these brands to work out, well, should you have a hybrid strategy? What works on 1P, what works on 3P? So there's a range of options and a range of pros and cons which people have to consider before they decide how to work with Amazon. Selective distribution, I touched on it earlier. This is the one bit where brands can get a bit confused and scared about implementing it. Lawyers can often make things sound very difficult, but I would recommend anybody, if you're serious about cleaning up the marketplace, if you really want 3P to work, there are law firms out there who specialize in European competition law and how you can effectively implement this in Europe. Happy to recommend any. We're not lawyers, but we, as part of our offer, we pay legal fees for brands who are committed to doing this. Because for us, if you have a clean selling landscape, it helps us all ultimately sell more. So as I touched on earlier, it's about selecting criteria or defining criteria that lets you define who should sell your product and how. So you're not dictating the pricing, you are just looking at criteria that helps you position your brand in a premium nature. For example, this is just an example of somebody we work with, and I'll take a few of the elements. If you want to sell on an e-retailer basis, you must have a premium look and feel website. You must be able to portray your images in a on-brand way. The partner must be able to carry the full assortment. And that takes away any ad hoc sellers who might grab a few listings and get a few products from somewhere and try and flog them on Amazon. And so if you have all these criteria in place, then the law firm can then shut down anyone who doesn't meet these criteria. So if they spot anyone selling the product elsewhere on Amazon, on other platforms that do not fit these criteria, they can, cease and desist letters can go out, and effectively you can stop them selling your product. And that just gives you more control over that selling environment again. So I'm nearly at the end. Number of recommendations, a lot to go through, I know. So if anyone would like further information or conversation separately, happy to organise that. But firstly, look at, if you are on Amazon or thinking about going onto Amazon, make sure you have a look at what's up there already. Many brands think they're not on there, but when they go on there, they see and they're quite shocked by the state of their brand. Think about, what do you know already? How do people shop from your direct consumer compared to your shops? Is there anything you can think about how you could tailor your range for Amazon? If you want to work with Amazon, think about the product you're selling. 1P might be good enough. 3P could have a role, could be a hybrid. Pricing, think about, is it worth just having a limited range with lower price points to get market entry points so then you can then acquire new customers? Or are you looking for sales, incremental sales and breadth? So all of that thinking should be done really before you go forward and start to do it. And lots of people just go and then, then it gets a bit messy. So do the thinking first. And then the enforcement piece is around the selective distribution. Lots of brands think it's too difficult. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to get going. But then they find they've got this race to the bottom. So if you can get that supply piece considered right from the offstart, then you've got a better chance of building a premium position in Amazon strategy going forward. I've talked about this. This is us. One key thing that we do is we take the problem off everyone's hands. We do everything when it comes to Amazon or other marketplaces. We run the content, we run the marketing, customer services. We buy your stock, so we don't charge you anything. We take a margin, so we have skin in the game. And so we only want to work with partners where we know we can make money too. And so therefore it's a really good joint partnership where the brands we work with stay with us for years. And then we work with you on an ongoing partnership basis, and normally we start with one market and then we tend to take brands to take them globally. So lots of the brands we work with start in the US and have come over to Europe. Other brands we work with over here, and one UK brand we're working with at the moment, we're taking them to the Middle East, to Japan, and to the US. So very happy to have a conversation with anyone who is thinking about doing that. And that's me done. Any questions?
Great, thanks, Nicola. There's some great stats there, and also some good insights from an Amazon point of view for brands. There's a few questions that have come through, and if I just take one by one, is there any particular region or growth area? I know one of the slides you put up with regards to people engaging during the COVID situation online. Would you say there's an area where there's some tremendous growth opportunities at this moment in time?
What, in terms of categories or countries?
Countries, territories.
So what we found right from the beginning, right at the beginning of COVID, traditionally UK and Germany were the big Amazon markets. And you have Spain, Italy, much more backward in terms of e-commerce penetration. But right from the offstart, we saw massive growth in Spain and Italy because customers had no choice. Whereas before in the UK and Germany, they were already using Amazon. The shops were shut in these smaller markets, and so they went straight to Amazon. And we just saw a massive increase in those countries. And I don't think that will go away. So that's almost accelerated the penetration for Amazon in those markets.
Great. And moving on from that, do you think this is a great opportunity for brands that don't have coverage in certain areas to use the Amazon platform to launch? Like, for example, they don't currently sell in Asia, but they have great European coverage. Would you say that's a good strategy?
Yeah, I mean, Amazon potentially not the best option for Asia, but yeah.
Just an example, US then. Let's say US.
Yeah, it's a great way to enter new markets. I suppose what I would say is that you have to invest in marketing. We work with some amazing big brands, and even these brands that have got amazing brand awareness would still only be on page 5 of Amazon unless they boost their products, if they're new ASINs or if they're new to the platform. And Amazon, unfortunately, requires that you do spend some money to boost up that discoverability. But it is a great way to enter a new market.
Great. We've just had one question, great question come in. I understand how Pattern manages a lot of brand management for the Amazon marketplace, but how does this link in with the brand management strategy at the brand itself across their non-marketplace channels? And how do you ensure it's joined up with the board?
Well, I suppose a lot of us, including me, come from an omnichannel background where you cannot look at channels in silo. You can't. And the best relationships we have are ones where we plan with other channels. And I think somebody like Skull Candy, we have a great relationship with. They use the Amazon platform as a key launch platform alongside their D2C. So we know exactly what's happening with a direct consumer platform, and we would launch in conjunction. The worst thing you want is where you're competing, particularly promotionally across channels. You want a good, consistent customer experience across all channels. And the brands that work the best are the ones where we've got relationships with all of these different departments.
Okay, so how do you then educate? My background's automotive, very archaic way of thinking. That's an opportunity, but how do you then convince all these people on the board that this is not going to diminish their existing routes to market, for example?
You're right. I mean, I started my career in automotive where I was educating dealers 20 years ago about why they should sell online. But, in whatever job I've had, whether it's working at Canon, convincing why you should be selling online and not all through retail stores, everyone is always scared about cannibalizing a different sales channel. But it doesn't matter. It's about the customer. If the customer wants to shop on Amazon, they're going to go up to Amazon or they'll buy your competitor. And so a key part of our job is really educating still. Amazon's still very new. Marketplaces are still very new. Lots of the brands we work with can see it's compelling because of the revenue, but it's still very much educating them about how this all knits together into your whole omni proposition. So the more you can get the C-suite into the conversation earlier, the easier it is to get buy-in.
How long do you think it takes then normally on those conversations? Because I know some conversations taking a year before we even even get any close. And then the personalities change in the room, and then you have to start again, if that makes sense. Do you experience that at all?
Yeah, I think we tend to work best when we engage with CEOs or people who, if you only engage with a departmental head, the danger is they've got their own KPIs. So they might have a sellout KPI, for example, where they're only interested in selling. They don't care about brand perception. So you need to be engaging with the people who care about the brand and how it's going to develop.
Another question that's come in about brand protection on Amazon, about brands that are gated on Amazon. I know a lot of sellers and brands have this challenge. Just talk how Pattern kind of embraces that and overcomes that.
But this brand gating is something that Amazon give to clients. Well, they give to brands, particularly in areas like beauty, where they're charging a premium to say, look, we're not going to let other people sell your product in this category. Now, it's one way to get more margin, and we know that they're doing that. As a 3P seller, you don't have gating, but this is why you need this selective distribution program in parallel, because then you're creating your own gating. As a brand, you're creating your own control over that distribution. And so it is always an ongoing battle to ensure that people don't pop up, but effectively then you're not paying or overpaying the margin to Amazon for something that you can do yourself.
One question, another question that's come in with regards to actually dealing with the house. So the house is Amazon. If they can source that product, and the brands, some brands I know that have different arrangements in different countries, and Amazon then source it from other countries in order to inject in. How do you overcome that, or is that a challenge for you?
It's a challenge in Europe. It's become easier since Brexit. What we find now is that you can easily protect yourself in the UK because Amazon are less likely to ship it across the border. But in mainland Europe, if you're only selling in Germany and you're not controlling France, then Amazon will source product from France and ship it into Germany. So if you're looking at a control strategy, you need to think about the whole of Europe.
Brexit. So that's a whole conversation probably in its own right. But how has that affected your business and the brands you represent? Has it affected dramatically?
Yeah, it has. 2 years ago, we opened a warehouse in the UK. I'm glad we did in advance because we knew it was coming. So in the past, we used to have brands shipped to one location, and now we have to have two. So we have warehouses in the Netherlands, we have one in the UK. We've got entities across both areas, so we can import stock if we need to. Many brands have fallen short of thinking, oh, I haven't got a VAT number in that market. How do I now import that product? How do I get through customs? So it is something we can help with. Where brands have fallen short is where they haven't thought about local language or labeling requirements or ingredients checks. And where there have been changes in European legislation, it's up to the brand to work out, can they legally sell their product in those markets? If they can, we can then help them get it into the market. Okay,
great advice there. As one of the other areas that a lot of sellers will profess is with regards to embracing the different Amazon programs. So people that have already sold on Amazon will say that Amazon do try and push you down the programs like FBA and Prime. Does Pattern embrace those programs? And if not, is it a problem?
Yeah, it used to be that 3P didn't have all of the things that 1P had, or the features, the functionality, but that's less the case these days. The Vine program, we've got the equivalent on 3P, and FBA, we tend to use FBA where we can. So we ship our product into Amazon, and we've got the Prime badge. We get stock out quickly through the Amazon network. They're very good at what they do, therefore that works. We also use direct consumer shipping too, if we need it. Any of the programs that Amazon has tend to come available in the US first. And because we're headquartered in the US, we tend to know what's going to come first into Europe. And then we're ready to launch it for our top brands.
Fantastic. Great. What about brands that have tried to do it themselves? They've sold on F3P and they've not made a success of it. Is that a barrier to engage with Pattern, or is it a case of a bigger job in order to clean house, if that makes sense?
We'd have a look at why. It could be they're too busy, they can't cope with the workload, or it could be they've got a messy seller landscape and they need to clean that up. So the first thing we would do is to have a look at their ASINs. We'd review. We've got a load of tech that we can see exactly who's selling the product and where. So we scrape all of the sites to see that. It could be that they're so widely distributed that it's never going to work from a pricing point of view on Amazon unless you clean up that landscape. Or it could be that the people just don't have the ability or capability to run it themselves. And we know that by, let's assuming it's a clean landscape, we know that by just the focus that we give it compared to the Amazon 1P, barely any customer contact, just by giving a bit of love, a better focus on content and marketing, the percentage growth, I mean, we were at 800% year-on-year growth for some of our brands in March. Yes, the market's increasing, but a lot of it is just care and attention.
Okay. I saw on the slide deck and also on your website, very heavy about the partnership side. And by buying the stock, that is a commitment from Pattern, that's very obvious. What is the commitment that you require from the brands in order to make this work? Because partnerships both ways, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's about trust, as you say. I mean, it's all very well saying you're a partner, but if you suddenly then, we're an exclusive partner, we're going to dedicate our efforts to making sure this works on Amazon. Where it hasn't worked is if a partner is then flogging the stock off to somebody else and then it's popping up on Amazon and they're discounting. So it has to work both ways. And it's about good communication, aligned omnichannel planning. So the more we can work together to work out a year ahead plan, promotional calendars, launch plans, the more we can buy better and forecast better and get good results.
Are there any certain categories that you work with? I know we touched, you said automotive, touched on your experience there. Is that a category you work with, or do you work with every category, either fine jewelry, for example, and diamonds?
I think in the US, we started off working with a lot of vitamins, which is one of the most complicated areas to work at in Europe with all the regulations. So if we crack that, we can crack anything. So we work with a lot of vitamins. We've got jewelry, we've got fashion. Fashion and apparel and returns is complicated in Europe. Ideally, small products, premium products. We've got wine accessories. We work across the board. Toys, dogs, everything.
Not literally dogs.
Dog toys.
No, okay. Toy dogs. Okay, great for clarifying that. One question that's come in about office in the UK. I know you're based in central London. Your fulfillment warehouse, you mentioned you opened that. Do you offer full fulfillment, or is it a case of a full end-to-end package that you offer, or do you bespoke it and create modulars within?
We're all in. We're not a marketing agency. We don't just do bits and bobs. We do strategy work. So if you need help working out what to do and how to do it, our strategy team would help you. Whether that's an RFP to work out what fulfillment house you need, or whether that's internationalization strategy, or a 1P hybrid strategy. But from the 3P management perspective, it's full end-to-end. We do everything. We agree a commercial margin by price, and then we pay that price. We buy the stock, you ship it to us, and then we do everything.
So a couple of last questions, as I know we're running close to time. Do you work with smaller brands, or is it the larger, well-known brands? If you could just talk about that.
It's not necessarily larger, well-known brands, but there's a certain amount of velocity that we'd look for. So ideally, we're looking for brands who are making $1 million, I would say, or the potential to make $1 million over the next year. As we've got bigger, we're focusing on bigger brands, but it doesn't mean you have to be well-known.
Okay. So last question. If there's 3 things you would like the audience to take away from your presentation and remember Pattern, could you kind of just summarize those 3 points for me?
So one, I would say there are a lot of people out there who claim to be Amazon experts or marketplace experts, but if you want a provider who does everything, that's certainly something we offer. Plus we buy the stock, and that's a very different proposition that most people have in this market. 2, before you rush into Amazon, make sure you think about what you want to do, and if you don't know, that's certainly something we can help you plot out. Don't be put off by declining pricing in the seller landscape. It is complicated, but there are legal support people who can help you work it out. So do look into selective distribution as a method to clean up your landscape.
Fantastic, that's great. So thank you very much for your time, Nicola, and telling us more about Pattern and the solutions there. It's been really interesting. I've learned a lot going in your presentation, so really appreciate that. Nicola, you got one last thing you wanted to say. Go on for it. Go for it.
I'm hiring lots of people at the moment, so I'm looking for account managers, merchandisers. For anyone out there looking for a role, please get in touch. Email us at uk@pattern.com. So we're on an exciting trajectory, and we're looking for some good people.
And is that remote, or do they have to be tied to the London area?
Currently it's remote, even though there are a few of us in the office today, but we're based in Bond Street. We've got offices in Munich too, if you're in Germany, but we're looking to have probably more of a hybrid remote, half office, half.
Okay. Fantastic. That's great. So that's great news that you're growing, and it's great news you're looking for talented people. So do reach out to Nicola. That's a great segue, because Nicola Pattern will be in the showcase area. They'll be there till the end of the week. And please reach out. Please go and visit the showcase. All these brands and all these solution providers are part of the Tamebay Live. Please support them, ask questions, and go and see them. So that brings us to the end of today with the brand stage. I'd like to thank everybody that took part. So we started off with myself, with an interview actually with Chris over at Tamebay, where we just talked about how you could protect your brand on multi-channel such as eBay and Amazon if you wanted to do it yourself. And then we segued into Channel Advisor, and they gave some great stats about managing channel conflict. There were some things there which would hopefully relay some fears that brands manufacturers have about utilizing marketplaces. And I would encourage you to go and visit Channel Advisor and get to know more, and have a look at the slide deck that they actually did as well. I think there's some figures that really back up the size of the opportunity. And then we just had Nicola. Nicola's just gone through what Pattern does, taking away the pain and a full out self-service. And you can see some of the brands they already deal with. There's some real great case studies there that can show that it does work, and how you can embrace Amazon on there. So some great presentations there. All of these will be available for you to relook at, download, and share with your colleagues as well. So don't be afraid to do that. They'll be offered up towards the end next week from the Tamebay site. I need to thank a few people. So I'd like to thank eBay for being the event sponsor. They have sponsored the whole event and helped us maintain this and keep this as a free event for attendees. So thank you to eBay. And then I've got to thank us as well for being the stage and day sponsor as well. And it has been a great honor to introduce and host the stage today and yesterday. And I found it really, really useful. And it's something we would not hesitate doing again. I've already thanked a few of our partners that have been on my stage, but I'd like to also thank Getida, I think I've said that right, StockX and Wish, and thank them for their participation. We've mentioned it a few times, but the Totem platform is open, will remain open for an hour after this stage ends, and it is available for networking and visiting showcase supplier showcases. Please support the sponsors. Please go and have a look. If there is something in the presentation you wanted further clarification about, go and visit them, ask a question. If you want to reach out to the presenters, leave a message. That's the best way to get hold of them. And that's it. So the sessions will resume tomorrow morning at 9:45, and the Totem platform will be launched at 8:45 for networking. So that leaves me to again thank everybody for participating, including the audience. The audience is what makes it. So I really thank you for spending your time, taking time out your busy day for listening to our presentation. So that's it. Have a great rest of the day. Go over to the Totem platform, go and speak to some of the showcase suppliers, and enjoy the rest of Tamebay Live. Thank you very much.